In today's video, Trump has ordered the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. Also, not one, but two federal judges have been arrested for harboring illegal aliens. And Democrats are calling on constituents to threaten congressional leaders.
Meanwhile, President Trump is directing the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. This is a Democratic donation platform, and the focus as the allegations about illegal straw donors and foreign contributions. Mark Meredith is live in Washington with more. This has been brewing for a while, Mark. What do we need to know?
Dana, for years, you're right about this, but this is a big development. The White House is directing the Attorney General to investigate the Democratic Party's top fundraising platform. It's called Act Blue, and the president says he wants to know if foreign money is being donated to the group and then utilized to sway elections. Democrats are calling this probe a dangerous abuse of power. Act Blue is an enormous operation in Democratic politics. It's raised more than $16 billion since 2004. You may have seen the text pop up from candidates saying, please donate, go to the Act Blue website. Republicans use something similar called Win Red. There was a new memo signed on Thursday directing the Attorney General to investigate if foreign nationals are using the Act Blue platform to bypass campaign finance laws. Trump wants a report out in 6 months.
This was a memorandum signed by the president yesterday. And there's really three main points. One, clearly this is following the reports and congressional investigations regarding potentially unlawful activities through Act Blue, also known as corruption. We know that's what Democrats have been up to time and time again. But what really stands out to me is this, or actually these two sentences. The reports also raise concerns that such straw donations are being made through dummy accounts, potentially using gift cards or prepaid credit cards to evade detection. Further, there is evidence to suggest that foreign nationals are seeking to misuse online fundraising platforms to improperly influence American elections. And the irony here is, aren't the Democrats the people that claim that Russia was trying to influence our election? Well, if there's any way to do it, it'd be probably through Act Blue.
Morning to you. Axios reports that there were 3 Republican-led committees that found 22 cases of significant fraud in Act Blue. When you were in Congress, were you aware of this? And if so, what are the details?
Well, what you found out was there's suspicious patterns. And remember, this is probably the largest platform, and they do more than just Democrat donations within there. But what we found is that there are elderly names, meaning people who are deceased that are still giving. They have people listed that have given 10,000 times in a year. When contacted, one man in Maryland said he gave 3,000 times on Act Blue, but he said he only gave a couple times. It had some people who were low income that didn't have much money, had them listed as like super donors, giving thousands of dollars. When contacted by one woman, she gave one time. And this is the way that if you steal names, it's a way for foreign entities to influence elections. So these suspicious patterns where someone's giving 10,000 times or somebody has deceased names, that should be investigated, and there should be no problem with this investigation.
It shouldn't be an issue, especially when you hear about this story that happened last year. At least 237 overseas transactions using prepaid cards were flagged between September and October 2024, which was identified as widespread fraudulent contributions. Also, state-level investigations were previously launched, while Wisconsin GOP strategist Mark Block claimed in a bombshell racketeering lawsuit filed in October of last year that his identity was stolen to make 385 fraudulent donations to liberal groups, including then Vice President Kamala Harris' super PAC.
And to put this into perspective, just in the first quarter alone of this year, Act Blue has had $400 million come through. It is known for having small dollar donations, but GOP officials and the Trump White House, they are concerned that there are overseas donors here. Now the president is directing the Department of Justice to investigate the matter. A letter penned by Representatives Jim Jordan, James Comer, and Brian Style says this: fraudulent political donations corrupt American elections and could amount to interstate criminal conduct. Elon Musk also weighing in here, saying Act Blue is guilty of widespread criminal identity theft. That is in response to posts from former officials. Here is one Energy Department staffer who said someone made donations to Democratic Party candidates in Kansas using his name and without his knowledge or consent.
Now, given this announcement, we know the media is going to start pushing propaganda and spin this story to make it seem like Trump is crossing a line here. And I'm going to show you an example using this tool called Ground News. If you guys want to check this out for yourself, just go to ground.news/DeVory. This shows you exactly what both sides are saying. So for an example, MSDNC, what are they saying? Trump signs order targeting Democrats' fundraising platform, sparking authoritarian fears. That right there is their main propaganda talking point when it comes to Trump. And how about a media outlet that leans right, the Epoch Times? They say Trump issues memo ordering probe into alleged illegal election contributions. And we know Act Blue has been accused of multiple corruption schemes. Now the president is taking it serious. And the other thing you should take serious is when one side of the political spectrum refuses to cover a story, which is why Ground News has this amazing tool called Blind Spot. So after seeing everything, all you need to understand is you need a tool that's going to help you see what both sides are saying. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research like we do here by using Ground News. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/DeVory, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code DeVory, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
But Act Blue is fighting back and saying these are efforts to try to silence political opponents. Here's the response from the company posted to X saying Trump's attack on Act Blue targets grassroots power in an attempt to tear down all we have built. But we are united and undeterred. Protect the power of the people, build change. Now, the White House is requesting that Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice report back any findings to these potential investigations into Act Blue.
All right. Now, here's the only thing I have to say about all this. Trying to argue that there isn't fraud is you being disingenuous or ignorant. When someone's identity and name and address is being used to make donations to a political official that they don't even support, they don't even know, there's some identity fraud going on. Now, whether they want to admit that they're behind it or whether or not someone's hacked the system and is doing it, the fact of the matter is it's happening. Now, here's the response from the left, because as I showed you in the media outlets, they claim this is an authoritarian move from President Trump, but they double down on that message and say even more. Listen.
The top Democratic member of Congress serving on the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, said this in response. He said, quote, "What a striking development. Foreign nationals are spending millions on Trump-owned cryptocurrencies right now in apparent hopes of buying their way out of federal criminal investigations through undisclosed payments. So it's rich indeed for Americans to read now that Trump has launched a big initiative to, quote, crack down on foreign influence in American politics. With one purpose, crippling the fundraising platform of his political opponents."
All right. Well, number one, when it comes to President Trump and the allegations that Congressman Raskin is making, could you please show me the evidence? I'd love to see the receipts on that. Number two, speaking of the receipts, where's the identity fraud in that scenario that he described, right? See, when it comes to Act Blue, this is not a conspiracy. This isn't a person's opinion. It's black and white. It's on paper. Human beings have come out and said, that is not me. So clearly identities have been stolen and fraud is occurring. Now, why don't we hear from the CEO of Act Blue, right? Because I'm sure she's going to be able to explain all of this, right?
Ms. Wallace-Jones, thank you very much for being here. I know it's been a pretty intense day.
Thank you for having me. And indeed it has.
I gather you've been expecting some kind of order, some kind of action from Trump for some time. Is this what you expected?
Yeah, actually, we have been engaged, obviously, in deep cooperation with several congressional committees for the last year and a half that have been looking into the fundraising practices of Act Blue. The escalation that happened over the last couple of days was something I would not say we were expecting, but are certainly not surprised by the actions that are taking place here. And
so, in other words, she doesn't have any answers. Now, she claimed that people have been auditing Act Blue for the last year and a half of people that she brought in. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, as they would call you on the left, that probably means they've been finding ways to evade getting caught by the federal government with these corruption allegations, all right? Or fraud allegations, rather. She has no answer. She doesn't know what's going on. And if she does know what's going on, she's playing politics. She's saying what needs to be said. And to give you guys an example, later in the clip, she does one of the most shameful things you could do. That's my personal opinion, by the way. She doesn't even shy away from asking for more money.
For people who may have donated to Act Blue, through Act Blue, for people who have maybe benefited from them, have been associated with an entity or a campaign that has raised funds on it, if people want to support you as you try to maneuver through this experience with the Trump administration, are you asking people to do anything in particular to support you?
The way that we survive is by the tips that donors offer to Act Blue upon giving to the candidates and the cause that they are making donations to.
Well, it seems to me like everything is finally coming full circle. We see where this is headed. And no wonder this email was just sent out to Democrat voters from Kamala Harris and her Fight Fund. It says this: here's the truth, directly and transparently. Democrats across the country have received a lot fewer individual donations so far this month that had been hoped for, and certainly less than the last few months. It's not great. Now, I'm sure we could put two to two together and understand why they're not receiving more donations, right? These Democratic candidates can't take on Trump and Elon alone. It's going to take all of us doing something that hasn't happened enough this month, donating what we can. So please, if stopping Trump and electing Democrats matters to you, cough up your hard-earned money. Now, the reality from people on the right in regards to this entire story, it doesn't mean anything unless somebody's arrested. Now, speaking of getting arrested, let's go to our next story, which you will enjoy, by the way, because now we have not only Democrat officials, but also judges being arrested for doing what they love to do, which is to defend, harbor, and hide illegal aliens in their possession.
The FBI director saying on social media that they have taken the extraordinary step to arrest a judge for allegedly obstructing an immigration arrest.
Veteran Circuit Court judge up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Her name is Hannah Dugan. She's now being accused of trying to help out an undocumented immigrant avoid arrest. And I want to read to you FBI Director Kash Patel's tweet. He says in part, quote, just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. He says, going on, saying, we believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, who they call an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Now, they say that this individual was eventually arrested by DHS officials. This is something that is just developing, Anna, and we have not yet seen any court documents in this case, but we are awaiting further news on this topic.
I mean, this is just getting wild, right? Like, if you guys see on your screen right now, this is the New Mexico judge who just resigned, barred for life, and he's getting arrested. It's him and his wife were taken into custody by FBI. And so needless to say, we got to salute Kash Patel. I'm very happy to see that people are actually being arrested. Now, will they be charged and convicted? We know that's a whole nother thing. But the bottom line here is that when you're arresting judges because they are hiding illegal aliens, yeah, we are in a constitutional crisis. Now, here's a picture of the judge up in Wisconsin who was arrested. Not shocked here, but it is a tragedy that we have judges hiding illegal aliens in their chambers and in their homes.
We have reached out to the Milwaukee County Circuit Court, which is where the judge sits, Judge Hannah Dugan. They have not responded yet, and there isn't any publicly available information in the court record about this, but it would be a startling development if this judge was arrested as she was working on the bench as a judge handling an immigration case or a case of a person that ICE was also interested in.
So overall, my thing is this. Can we please get a conviction out of people? Can we please make an example out of these officials? Right? They're supposed to be held to the highest standard, and you're breaking the law by doing things like this, right? Hiding illegal aliens. Come on. You just can't make this up. But these are the same individuals that claim President Trump is the one that is causing a constitutional crisis. And I say that because when you hear exactly what the allegations are against this judge, you just have to shake your head.
As I'm on set with you here, we're continuing to gather more information. This from our colleague, Laura Strickler, our senior investigative reporter that I work with on this particular individual who was in the courtroom in Milwaukee. I already identified him as Eduardo Flores Ruiz, 31-year-old man. He had facing 3 misdemeanor charges labeled as, quote, domestic abuse, infliction of physical pain or injury. Apparently, this alleged incident occurred on March 12th of this year, and he had a public defender. According to the reporting in that article there that we're looking at on screen, a bit of a tear of the kind of the headline, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel says that he was in court, and at some point he and his attorney were ushered out kind of a private hallway. And a lot of courts have this. There's kind of a back passageways that allow the judge to move, in court staff to move in and out of chambers. Apparently, he was moved through those private passageways out to another exit and was able to avoid ICE that was waiting there to make the arrest. So at least that's what's been reported, but we'll wait and see and try to confirm that reporting, of course, but also wait and see what is actually in those charging documents and continue to keep you posted.
So imagine that. Even MSNBC is having to explain the story behind this judge. And even when they explain it, it sounds bad. So imagine when we actually get the full truth and the details about why the FBI arrested this judge, because it's obviously still developing. But the bottom line here is even the appearance of a judge doing this is already bad. But I wonder, will Democrats speak out against this behavior? Now, my money says that they won't. And the reason why it is because in my next story, you have Democrats calling on their constituents to threaten congressional leaders because of what Trump is doing and how he is detaining illegal aliens. Hear it for yourself.
I've been giving out the phone numbers to the House of Representatives and to the Senate. It's one number. That number you call and you threaten them. And you say, this is wrong. This is not America. This is not what we stand for. We need a change. You have to do that. It's going to take the people. I've talked myself into oblivion. We need the people. We need an uprising where people are taking to the streets and the phones and writing letters. That's what we need.
So I'm sure the question is, all right, so who is she and what the heck is she saying? Well, this is Congresswoman Wilson from Florida. She's visiting an ICE detention center. She decided to do a press conference on the side of the road. It looks stupid, in my own personal opinion. And to make matters worse, she's encouraging people to threaten their congressional leaders because they disagree with how Trump is handling these deportations. That's really what's going on here. It's another example of how disconnected Democrats really are.
She visited this detention center down in Miami area, and she's blaming the Laken-Riley Act, which just allows DHS to arrest criminals who are here illegally, people who have been charged with a crime. What's your reaction?
Yeah, so she's really upset because more people are being detained since the Laken-Riley Act. But if you look at the Laken-Riley Act, Ainsley, it says you can be detained by ICE if you are illegal and you committed a crime or were charged with a crime related to theft and if you assaulted a police officer. And so, yeah, it's working. And that's a good thing. And she's out there having a press conference, ginning up fear, saying, you know, you can get detained for jaywalking or whatever. Meanwhile, you know, she says you need to call your congressman, you need to call your senator. She says we need an uprising, you need to threaten them. This is a woman who's fundamentally out of touch with where the American people are.
Okay, so let's just get this straight. First, you have Democrats being investigated because of their donation platform called Act Blue, like what he showed you at the beginning of this video, because it's very clear. Anybody with a brain knows that identity fraud has occurred. Then you have judges that are not only blocking the Trump administration from deporting illegal aliens, but you have judges hiding illegal aliens in their own home that's led to their arrest, not once, but twice. And now you have people in Congress setting up a press conference on the side of the road, calling for the constituents to raise hell and threaten congressional leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in some crazy times.
Hispanics don't relate to criminal aliens. They might have a little bit of a soft spot for people who came here illegally but aren't doing anything, aren't committing any other crimes. But the Laken-Riley Act is very specific. If you committed a crime, robbery, theft, and if you assaulted a police officer, You see all these Democrats, Ainsley, flying out to El Salvador on behalf of an MS-13 gang member. This is not relatable to Hispanics. They do not see themselves in any of these people, whether they are citizens or not. I think this is a very bad political move for the Democrats.
Yeah, and then she's calling, you're right, to threaten your Congress members, calling for an uprising, telling people to call their Congress people and speak out about this. It was a very strange press conference. I don't know if that was right outside of the prison, but she just set up a podium like on the side of the road. Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Okay, so let's get your guys' reaction in the comment section below to all this nonsense. What do you think about President Trump finally issuing an executive order to have Act Blue investigated? And are you looking forward to seeing whether or not Pam Bondi will actually convict somebody over this corruption? Also, do you think that the DOJ, Pam Bondi once again, will convict one of these judges for hiding and harboring and defending these illegal aliens, which led to what? Obstruction of justice. Let me know what you guys think will happen in the comment section below. So clearly throughout this video, Democrats have been getting a lot of bad news legally, but what about politically? Well, we published a story yesterday where CNN dropped a devastating poll for Democrats. If you guys missed out on that story and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.